Good evening, everyone. Welcome to America's Third Party. We're rebooting this show because we had an attack, which is pretty common nowadays when we do the show. We can always try to be perfect, but as you know, nobody is perfect. Yeah, especially Donald Trump. We're seeing some real problems with him lying, claiming that he never talked to Lev Parnas, and then we're hearing conversations of Lev Parnas and him. So he outright lies to us. He lied about wanting to show his IRS tax forms. He said, "Oh, gladly show you my IRS tax forms," and he didn't show them ever to this day. So there's lots of lies we know, and we can all agree on. Even you supporters of Donald Trump, you can agree he lies a lot. And Hope Hicks, his former assistant for over 2 years, she said that she had to lie a lot for Donald Trump. I mean, all the time. So that's a big problem. You've got a president with no credibility when it comes to speaking the truth. And then you have all these other accusations of criminal activity, like trying to work a bit of information out of the money we're going to give Ukraine for their defenses. He wanted to get dirt on Joe, and he was willing to do that, which is illegal. You can't use our tax money to get dirt on Joe for personal gain. So he's willing to do all these things under the table, and there could be a financial interest in this whole thing too, which even Alan Dershowitz said that if there's a financial interest, that could definitely be impeachable. And I think if we look deeper, we would find that. But for some reason, we're not allowed to look deeper. We're not allowed to hear from the witnesses that have never spoken up, like Mick Mulvaney. We know that Donald McGahn said that Trump ran around the entire White House wanting to fire Mueller, which is incredibly illegal, obstruction of justice, to try to fire the person investigating you. And he did do that with James Comey. He fired James Comey while he was trying to investigate him. James Comey was the one guy that helped Donald Trump win the election. You'd think he would have congratulated him and given him a post in his administration. I want to thank you very much, James Comey, for telling everyone that Hillary was under criminal investigation 11 days before the election. I want to thank you. He should have promoted him. Seriously. But he got rid of him from the scene because he was the critical element that got Donald Trump elected, along with the Russians. And that's cheating in the election, too. That's a misuse of power at every level. So we're looking now at a vote coming up on Wednesday. Hopefully between now and then, a few senators who are Republicans might find out that Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell are both working for the Russians. If only our Senate could figure this out in the next 4 days, that's all they need. Lindsey Graham's getting money from a Russian oligarch, Len Blavatnik, the guy in the center of the picture there. And he's also giving about $3 million to Mitch McConnell for his reelection. So a Russian oligarch connected to the guy that rigged the election, Oleg Deripaska, has been going on right under our nose, and the Democrats don't want to bring this up for some reason, because I think they get money from Russia too. The two parties have been completely corrupted. You have a song for the after show? Excellent. Wonder what it is. Oh, okay, bad guy, Billie Eilish. She just won 4 Grammys. Excellent. Thank you, Bengalitis. She's a bad guy. Duh. Okay. Now, you guys have to realize we are fighting censorship at all levels every night. And sometimes we have to drop off the show. I just did an hour-and-a-half show that I'm putting in the bag for the archive that won't appear on YouTube because of an attack on our show. So when we repeat a few things in the broadcast, it's simply because, well, that's what I do. I repeat a lot of things because people bop in and out of our show during the evenings. But the outcasts are in the country of China are starting to really feel it. The people of Wuhan have been the unwanted faces in the outbreak of the coronavirus. And the numbers are staggering now. It's kind of crazy. 14,499 people confirmed having this virus in China. We've got proof that across the country that it's popping up in America in small enclaves. I'll bring that to you in just a bit, but this is serious. 304 people have died so far. And the weird part about this virus is that we do know that it's man-made. Yeah, It's man-made. It's got all the same markers that the AIDS complex of viruses have. And we believe that the AIDS viruses have been man-made too. Yeah. So doesn't that kind of hit you in the head going, wait a second, they're making these viruses to kill people? These aren't just naturally mutating? Right. And guess who's been behind this program of building vaccines? The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And they've been involved in this Event 201 scenario. Believe it or not, these people, in their effort to create vaccines, Bill and Melinda Gates are actually building the nuts and bolts of a dangerous pandemic. So I'm beginning to wonder, is Bill and Melinda, are they actually trying to create the pandemic or come up with a vaccine to stop it? Because they've been working on this for 12 years and they say that a vaccine is still 1 year away. Wait a second. 12 years they've been working on this. They created the virus. They've got the patent on the virus. It's released in a city of Wuhan, which is a major bioweapons lab. And China didn't do anything to stop that, yet they were warned that it seriously shouldn't be near a large population. And here it is, spreading around. And then we have other allegations that maybe the virus attack may be masking what may be really an RF frequency attack by the new 5G network. It's like, wait a second. The 5G network can cause flu-like symptoms? Apparently so. And we know that when these 5G masts were put up in Wuhan in October, in 2 months' time, a lot of bad things started happening, didn't they? Now, Wuhan is the area where China is testing the 5G network right now. They haven't tested the 5G network at all in this many blind studies done around the world. They seem to have just a scant amount of information about the way it affects insects, small animals, and humans. But insects have been dropping all over the place whenever they get near a tower. In the Netherlands, they had a startup of a mast, a 5G mast, and it was put right up there, and it caused 299 birds to drop from the sky instantly. And the Netherlands tried to cover it up, claiming it was some sort of a poisoning of some sort that happened accidentally. Okay, we've got the $500 a month plan in front of you right now. And we got Bernie and the vampires at the Vampire Weekend going on right now. They're putting on their little 2-day festival before the Iowa caucus. It's a Vampire Weekend, they call it. But anyway, this rally has been seen across the... There they are, having fun. The Democrats won't talk about genetically modified food. They won't make a comment about the dangers of GMOs. What they won't do, they won't make a statement about the dangers of forced vaccinations. They won't even comment about the dangers of pesticides and herbicides. The Democrats are ostensibly pretending to care about people in a socialist way, but they're really not at all worried about you or your health. They'll claim they're going to lower the cost of healthcare when they've got no plan, and we've got a plan to build mobile medical units across the nation. They'll claim they want to solve the healthcare crisis where so many people have medical bankruptcies, but they created Obamacare. They never solved that problem when they built Obamacare. There's something wrong with these people. We can't rely on them to solve our healthcare crisis. I wish I could show you the Vampire Weekend. I got to go back in time to get there. I think they pulled it off the screen. Let's take a look. Yeah. There it is. Michael Moore.
And just long before other people catch on, when he was mayor of Burlington, Vermont, I believe this was 1985, he held the first gay pride parade in Burlington, Vermont.
See, they're appeasing the people who really want LGBTQ. They're not helping people who worry about the environment and the dangers of these terrible chemicals that we have in our bodies. I'm not deep state, no. Yeah, so a lot of things are bizarre. We've got the Pentagon approved a 1,000-person hospital for the C virus here in the U.S. today. Okay, so now the Pentagon's building a 1,000-person hospital. Bengalitis has the story. We've got 1,000 people hospitals being built in Wuhan right now. Michael Moore is in the 1%, just like Bernie Sanders is. They don't represent people like you and I. Those people haven't gone shopping for eggs in a long time. Their house staff does that. Good. Well, I'm glad the Pentagon is approving the use of military bases to quarantine up to 1,000 people. We had an incident in our show where I just went kind of way on a limb and said that the CDC was out to lunch if they allowed these 195 people into the country 3 days ago. And I was yelling on the show. And then T. Tommy, he called in the CDC and reported that they shouldn't let these people have exactly what I was saying, a quick release. Anybody who has the coronavirus could be symptomless for up to 14 days. So we really have to quarantine everybody that came in. And lo and behold, the government then issued an order. The CDC just issued an order that all those people have to stay at that quarantine location for 14 days. So everybody coming into the country who has the virus should be quarantined for 14 days. But Donald Trump hasn't stopped all flights from China. People are still arriving from China, and if they don't have symptoms, they walk right through the turnstile and go on to visit their family. And then in a couple days, they'll start to have symptoms, and they'll already have contaminated about 100 people. Wherever they go, to any store they go, they could be contaminating people. So we've already let the cat out of the bag in America, and Trump hasn't done enough to stop the influx of people coming in here with the coronavirus. So I would suggest to Donald Trump to immediately ban not all flights from every country in Asia, but just China. All right? Donald, if you're listening, please ban every flight from China into the U.S., please, okay? Okay, let me catch up to chat on iBlog. I've been bereft in reading. Dave, your black friends are over? That's nice. We welcome black friends here. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be taking 2020, yeah. The thing is, Donald Trump is probably going to have to resign under the pressure of these impeachment hearings. Now, these are just phase one of the impeachment hearings. It's like act one in a play. Well, God didn't create this virus. It's man-made, guest 924. It's man-made. There's something very wrong about this virus. It has all the markings of a man-made bioweapon. Yeah, it's not something that just morphed into a new formulation when it encountered the bat soup. You'd like to believe it became a hybridized version of the coronavirus in the bat soup. I don't blame Obama. I blame the CDC for not overseeing what Bill Gates is doing and try to limit his work in genetic alterations of this virus. Because somebody protein synthesized this. They've been protein synthesizing things since 1997. They've had the technology. And all these viruses appear to be man-made at this point. It can mutate, but it didn't in this case. It has all the markings, every expert I've heard have all the markings of a man-made virus. Okay, we're not stopping epidemics, they're starting them, and they're implementing a plan of depopulation, folks. And if you want to believe that it's all just happening out of happenstance, it's global warming, whatever you want to believe, it's not true. They are purposely creating these viruses. Yeah, they don't care about you living. They're more planning on how many are going to die. You see, the depopulation plan put together called Agenda 2030 by the UN is embraced by lots of elitists around the world. Even Greta's, Thunberg, the one who somehow bought her way onto the cover of Time magazine with her family connections. She's not talking about the dangers of chemtrails. In fact, you mentioned the word chemtrail at the Democratic caucus, they'll laugh you out of the show. They'll, oh yeah, right, you're a whack job. No, actually, I recommend you check out chemtrailparty.com. I created this amazing site. If you haven't been to chemtrailparty.com, check it out. Yeah, I don't explain to you all the different chemicals that are out there. Just go to the link page. But they're dumping chemicals on all of us. And now the Democrats are saying, well, maybe we should spray the sky with stratospheric aerosol injection and we'll keep all the sunshine from baking in. It'll cool the planet. Yeah, sure. What you're doing is blocking sunlight that is valuable to photosynthesis. Yeah, I'll show you my little site I created, chemtrailparty.com. And it gives you all the facts and figures. It's not some hocus pocus conspiracy. It really is happening. They're dumping chemicals on our head. They're engineering the weather that you call global change, global climate change. I don't know who created the virus. I think Bill Gates might know more. I would have him in front of a grand jury if I were president. We'd be investigating him. Yeah, his involvement in this virus is too close to discount. And plus, I'd like to ask him some questions about where he was and what he was doing on Little St. James Island with Jeffrey Epstein. Bill Gates has not responded to all the questions people have had. He's been there multiple times. So you go to Chemtrail Party and you go to the link page at the top. That's the one that gives you all kinds of links to great sites that give you really intense, deep information. But basically what's happening is the chemicals they're dumping in the sky are toxic, and there have been no peer-reviewed studies on how safe they are for human brains, and we're breathing it in our bodies, it gets in our brain. I am not a CIA experiment at all, no. No, I'm a real American who's just fighting for the American people. This is a grassroots effort at all levels. And I think you're making that up, Olden Bear. Anyway, it also blocks light for photosynthesis, which we valuably need. We need oxygen. Why would we want to block the light? You ask that question to the Democrats, they're like, huh? Well, because we want to cool the planet down, that's why. Yeah, but they're the ones that call you the whack job for saying they're spraying the skies, and then they say, well, we should spray the skies. Weather warfare. It was developed by Tesla over 100 years ago. Implemented in 1946 to create clouds with weather cloud seeding, and then now advanced to a whole other level where they can create hurricanes, tornadoes, droughts, even earthquakes. So you've got to ask yourself, what's going on? And I've given you a kind of a primer on how to really dive into this. They have a history of weather modification. There's the weathermodificationhistory.com site I linked to you. And we got all kinds of other information for you. But the link button is the way to go. And that'll take you to all these great sites that give you detailed information about chemicals that are being dumped on your head, as well as videos and information on radiation for your family. All these things give you much better information than you've ever had in the mainstream media. But again, the Democrats won't talk about that. They won't mention any of these things that I talk about in my show. This is what makes the Democratic Party so disturbing. And then they grab the $500 a month plan. And then Andrew Yang doubled it. He wants to buy your vote. But he's willing to give it to illegal aliens, anybody. And we don't have that kind of money. This program would cost us at worst about $1 trillion a year. His program would definitely cost about $3 trillion because he's giving it to everybody. No, the sky is not falling. You don't have to panic right now. Now, breaking news, burning bodies in secret. New accounts from the Wuhan detail coronavirus outbreak. Well, if you got a link, give it to me because I'll take your link and I'll double it. Well, thank you for honestly loving me. Olivia Newton-John, thank you. I know in the words of Olivia Newton-John, I honestly love you. Thank you. Yeah, if you got a link on that, that's great. You can post it in there and I'll cut and paste it. But this idea is very viable for America, and I'm fairly sure the Democrats, by the time they pick Joe Biden or Bernie or Elizabeth, whoever they pick for the 2020 election, they'll probably drop this. Nobody will carry this plan. I'm fairly sure Andrew Yang won't win the nomination, and there won't be an offer for the American people on the table. So I will offer it, and my third party will offer it to the American people if you want to keep promoting us. We're not in any way going to give up like so many people have already given up. Kamala Harris gave up. Right. Countless others have dropped out of the race. The one I thought was going to go a little farther was Howard Schultz. He claimed he wanted to start a third party. And here's a guy worth $7 billion, triple almost what Donald Trump has. And Howard Schultz, he just completely gave it up. He dropped out about a month and a half ago. Jay Inslee from my state, he dropped out about 2 months ago. But this guy was going to be the third party candidate. Remember when he said he was going to start his own third party after I've been doing this for 11 years with absolutely no mainstream media coverage whatsoever? Okay, you've got a construction of a hospital in 6 days in China. All right, I'll bring that in. But this guy gave up completely, and he never even threw any money at it, which was very weird. Okay, let's take a look at that. Watch the ongoing construction of the Wuhan hospital. This is like a live photograph of China right now. They're doing pretty well. Yeah. Impressive. Look at that. Yeah. I mean, they've gone from nothing there in 5 days. They've constructed a beautiful 2-level hospital. And they're using containers to do it, kind of like the idea I came up with to fix the wall. This one. Trump in 3 years has not developed the idea that I came up with, a 1,000-mile fence. He stole the idea and then claimed it was his and called it a wall, and we still haven't seen more than 100 miles of this. And he has a slat fence. So this can be done within a year. We've already got the materials ready to go, and that's kind of what they're doing the hospital out in Wuhan right now. I know. Well, this is not just my idea. Yeah, you're out of here. This is not just my idea. This is an idea that's been generated in our room and other people I've talked to. We have about 800,000 containers, more than enough to do the wall, are sitting in our ports right now, doing nothing, because we don't export a lot to countries because of the travel ban Donald Trump imposed on our American farmers and manufacturers. So we're now sitting on a massive cache of these containers. Let's build the wall, Donald. What are you waiting for? We can turn them into temporary triage areas for people who are at the location trying to become at least green card holders. We can process people here. We won't have to take them into the country and then stick them in concentration camps, which he's been doing. That's right, Donald Trump has built concentration camps at the border with Mexico. He claims that his ideas are the best. Well, his idea, 175 miles of the slat fence would cost $3.6 billion. Whereas 1,000 miles of the container fence only costs, amazingly, $1 billion. I mean, his concept is ripping us off. We're not going to have that built anyway. He won't have it done. He's all talk and no action. I don't think we need a concentration camp down at the border, but Trump built one. Casa Padre, where he houses little kids who have been separated from their parents who were deported. And we don't even know where their parents are or who the kids are. And there's over 5,500 kids down there in places like Casa Padre. The kids have Mylar blankets. It's not just Obama's camps. No, he just recently built Casa Padre. This is all Trump's doing. And by the way, people who worked with Trump are now privately investing in this whole thing. Even John Kelly made an investment down there in Casa Padre. Yeah, if you order anything from China, cancel it. Yeah, I think we should look at possibly ending trade with China at this point. I know that's shocking, but Donald Trump has crippled our trade with China and mishandled the entire relationship. And he didn't even pack into the trade agreement any plan to deal with the human rights abuses and how they've been treating the people of Hong Kong. He did nothing to advance that. So I think we could just throw it out there that maybe we should just stop trade with China completely, unless they comply with new human rights advances. And what has happened with them not listening to the requests of countless people saying that don't have a bioweapons lab near a large population, what do? Nothing. They ignored us. So do you really think you need to buy everything from China on eBay? Most of eBay would not operate without the Chinese imports. Almost everything on eBay you could order, it'll come in 3 weeks from China. Same with Amazon. So Amazon will be directly impacted. eBay will be directly impacted. But there's lots of producers of things around the world besides China. Singapore, South Korea, Japan. Why are we fixated on trade with China? Can anyone answer that question? Because what this is with this Wuhan situation, what this is absolute proof of incompetent negligence on China's part. There's no reason why we would possibly continue a relationship with a country that can't, number one, stop taking in people from Falun Gong believers and harvesting their organs. Forcing people into work camps where they work 18-hour days to make shirts that sell for wholesale for $1 and then retail for $40. But this is what's going on. Human exploitation, a rampant destruction of the environment. Do we really need to trade with China? I really don't understand the whole point. I mean, yeah, Budweiser sells beers there. McDonald's has a lot of locations there. But really, are they that profitable for the American corporations? I mean, Donald Trump kind of opened the door to no trade with China. Let's just consider closing the door with trade with China at this point. Why are we even trading with a country that won't even respond to our requests that they meet and comply with certain human rights violations? Human rights guaranteed under the Geneva Convention should be honored. But to take people who simply engage in Falun Gong activities where they do some Tai Chi, come on, hauling those people in and putting them into re-education camps and then harvesting their organs, I'm sorry, but I call foul here. There's no reason in the world why we would do trade with China at this point, let alone First Nation trade status. So Donald Trump isn't tough enough with China. He's constantly caving in and pretending like he's got a good deal with China. No, he doesn't have a good deal with China. The farmers are going to be paying huge price. We've lost $17 billion worth of sorghum and soybean sales to China. They're absorbing that loss, and Donald Trump is using your tax dollars to cover that cost. Food farm subsidies are rolling out right now. I really don't think China is going to help us in the long run if they continue doing this and ignoring the human rights of the people of Hong Kong. Yeah. So as much as I've opened the door to possibly working around these problems, if all they have to do is start talking about how they can resolve these problems of human rights violations, and they'll accuse us of violating people's rights as well. The Chinese can validly say that we are committing human rights violations in the United States, and they'd be right. They'd be right to say that. It wouldn't be a stretch to say that the people down at the south of the border are not getting proper treatment. And I don't want to be a hypocrite here and say, oh, we're perfect. Our country's never done anything bad. No, we've got a lot of faults. And I'd be more than willing to meet China on that level so we can both work toward a better world. I'm not trying to stop trade with China. I just want them to at least listen. And Donald Trump didn't even tie that to any human rights changes whatsoever. He missed a valuable opportunity. Unbelievably stupid thing for him to do. You had a fish taco today? It was good. What kind of fish was in it? Yeah, I know we would have a big problem supplying our planes with all kinds of valuable parts. China is a big contributor to parts now in the plane industry. We'd be screwed if we stopped trade with China, frankly. I mean, I'm more than willing to not stop trade with China, too. All right. Was it tuna? Cod. Okay. Well, I was a mistake hasn't answered as to what kind of fish was in your fish taco. It matters to me, okay? Was it catfish or... Yeah. Anything you want, you can blame on Obama and Trump and still claim it's the New World Order causing it. You can blame the Democrats and Republicans simultaneously. Just add the word New World Order controls them to the statement. All right? Dance until you can't stop, and you won't stop. So people who are out and about surviving this terrible disease are potentially threatening everyone around them, because many of them aren't even showing symptoms. Yeah. No, the New World Order is anybody who controls our president. And we know that Donald Trump is being controlled by Zionist elitists. We know that George Bush was controlled by Zionist elitists. Anyone who collects money from AIPAC, which would be Obama, George W. Bush, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, and of course, Donald Trump. Anybody who looks for money from AIPAC is a Zionist and has been controlled by the New World Order. That is your determiner right there. That's how I determine it. I will never take money from AIPAC. Our country belongs to the American people, not to a group of Zionist elitists like Donald Trump and Joe Biden. The Apple iPhone factory, it was part of a deal that Apple made. They're trying to get cheap labor, exploit people overseas. Silicon Valley had some of the best chip manufacturers in the world with the safest, cleanest manufacturing process the globe has ever seen. All of these chips that go into some of these smartphones, they are manufactured in sterile environments. There's no dust or anything. China has dust. China produces a lower quality product because there's all kinds of contamination issues. So theoretically, our Apple dealers or Apple production should have been really incentivized to stay in Silicon Valley instead of going to China. They made that mistake, and they also allowed operating systems to be shared as well. I heard that the iPhone operating system now has a strike-off in China, and they're going to undercut their value in the market, which is exactly what happened to the IBM Corporation when PC clones came out. Hey, I'm glad people stealing signs get caught on camera. Yeah. I don't have any problems or weaknesses on anything. If you can guess, you tell me what the guesses are when you get back in the room. I'm not saying this is a good thing that we've been outsourcing to cheaper places to produce product, but most American corporations wouldn't have even survived. Thanks, True Blue. Most of the people in our even Donald Trump would never have retained his money if he hadn't outsourced the production of his ties overseas. You hire an American company to make a tie like this. Well, actually, this isn't a Trump tie, but it's a pretty cool tie, I must admit. If you hire an American company to make that in America, you're going to see a much higher cost. But that just means that you have to rely on people buying quality. And there are people that still buy quality. I'd be willing to pay $60 for a tie like this if it said Made in America. This is San Jose, California. So it was a $60 tie made in America. Yeah, see? It's probably made in China and sold in America. You got pictures of a sign stealer in Salinas in broad daylight? Yeah, people do it all the time in California, Oregon, Washington. One of the things about American politics is they don't hesitate to steal your signs. I had 90% of my signs stolen in a local race I ran here. 90% of my signs were taken. Literally stolen and knocked down. We just spent all our time putting up signs. It was unbelievable. They'll cheat to win, these Democrats, Republicans. They won't hesitate.
In our Commitment 2020 coverage tonight, the wildly popular Ring doorbell camera adding a new twist to at least one local race for Monterey County Supervisor. The camera, you're seeing what's happening here. Camera captured a person stealing campaign signs. Now, while sign theft may not be surprising, it's actually pretty common. The video is pretty startling to see someone do it in broad daylight.
Yeah.
Nonchalantly. Action News reporter Felix Cortez is live in Salinas with more.
And Aaron, we typically don't cover stories when campaign signs are stolen because they just happen too frequently. But this one's different because of the person involved and when it happened, and it was all caught on video. Caught on camera, an older woman nonchalantly walking up to South Salinas home and removing campaign signs for Steve McShane in broad daylight Thursday just before noon.
I mean, I never really knew what people who took campaign signs looked like. I pictured them to be a bunch of juveniles or somebody who runs around at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and takes them in the dead of night, not in broad daylight, just blatantly.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is.
The woman caught on a Ring doorbell camera, seen wearing dark glasses, just casually removes the signs, puts them in her trunk, and drives off in no apparent rush.
This is surprising to me, and it's really
Okay, I've heard enough.
demonstrating that there's people that, man, they want to get even in politics.
They sure do, and they'll cheat too. Thanks, Bob, for that link. That was 2 days ago, yeah. Yeah, free speech is not even allowed in America anymore, guess 924. Speech costs money now. It's called costly speech. If you want your word heard, it costs you money. Consequently, people that use the internet like myself never get heard, except all around the world to people who have UHF and VHF connections. Yeah, well, like I said, 90% of my signs were stolen during my run for a local office, and it hurt me badly in the race. So they're willing to cheat and steal and lie, the Democrats are and the Republicans are. I can only tell you how this is going to end for all of us. We're caught in the middle with no one helping us out. Most of us have no representation. The Democrats don't care about what goes in your body. They never talk about the dangers of chemicals like pesticides and herbicides. The Democrats won't talk about Roundup as a bad thing. They're afraid to ruin corporate sponsorship. And they're the ones that are behind the high cost of health care, the Democrats are. We've seen countless cases where the Democrats refuse to lower the cost of health care. Yet during the campaign, they talk about it all the time, but they never do. Mike, my signs are available for free on my site too. But Mike, you're stipending the whole thing. Yeah, when you go to americasthirdparty.com, the first thing you see is my sign. And you go to americasthirdparty.com and you can take and right-click that. Just right-click that and go Save Image As. And it saves it to your computer. It's not some malicious image. It just saves it to your computer. And this you can print out. You can send it to your local Office Depot or Office Max or any one of the printing places. Send it to their email and they'll print it out black and white, 8.5 by 11 for 5 cents a piece. You can get color copies made for about 60 cents, 11 by 16. And then you can have it laminated. You can have an 11 by 16 sign laminated for under $7. Or print it up in black and white, 11 by 16, and post it on all the billboards at every university. So it's definitely there for all of us, if you want it. Now, we've got a serious spreading of the disease going on. I showed this in the previous segment. I'm going to show it now. Here's a map of the number of people, I guess 22 in the U.S. that they know of have the coronavirus. Thank you. Print it up anytime you want. You're feel free to print them and post them anywhere you want. Yeah, Mike, the only reason why I'm allowing you in the show is because you're offering $1 billion if you aren't elected. And frankly, if you wanted to throw $1 billion at our campaign, I can't take it, but you could certainly promote our show. And as you know, Mike, I am looking for a vice president. So say for instance, the Democrats push you out of the scene completely, which they've done. And they say you have up to 9%, which is way more than Andrew Yang. But say they just push you out of the debates and kick you out after Iowa. Consider that option, seriously. Because you can put together a separate campaign for me and then I could pick you as my VP. Makes sense to me, doesn't it? May make sense to you too. But no one's ever heard of me in America except for the 1 million people that we've reached through the internet. All right, keep it in mind. Here's the spread. We got 2 confirmed in Everett, Washington. That's weird. For some reason, it just freaked out. Maybe it downloaded a malicious virus to my computer. Well, Mike is a decent guy. You know, I don't dislike Mike Bloomberg. I just don't think that he has the cutting edge information that we're at every night. He's kind of running a little bit behind. No, I would not consider Awesome Carl for the VP position. Yeah. Our politics are not that far off. I just think that you're by getting rid of the fruity vapes, you actually help the tobacco industry. And you said you were not in favor of big tobacco, so you may want to consider allowing the fruity vapes. Okay. Yeah, 2 confirmed in Everett, Washington, 1 in Lakewood, Colorado, 3 in Michigan, 2 suspected in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I guess 1 in Chicago, 1 in Tennessee, 1 in Raleigh, North Carolina, 4 suspected carriers of the coronavirus in New York, 1 suspected in Texas A&M, 1 in Maricopa, Arizona, 2 in Orange County, California, and 6 in the Bay Area and LA. So 8 total in California, 2 in Washington. All right, so the only safe place to really be right now are the gray states. You know, the warehouses, and if it does shut down and China really is going to be an ending the trade kind of scenario for a while because of the Wuhan breakout, so be it. We'll have to work around it. I know a lot of crack mechanics that work here in the base that can work around any type of ordnance problems. Nobody has a problem creating new tools at any given time. We are a very flexible nation. We have some of the best people in the machine industry, and we could probably develop parts on the fly with 3D printers if we had to. I have great confidence that our country can respond even if we have to shut down some of the airliners that require parts to keep them going. A lot of the airline parts are made in China. That's a critical area that we need to actually focus on. Yeah, we do. We need to open up more opportunities and jobs for Americans, which Trump hasn't addressed. Trump is very 20th century. He doesn't have any plan for the automation to take over our country. He's thinking the old-fashioned way, like somehow we're going to just keep outsourcing everything, like he did. Trump is a liquidator. He's always gained money by liquidating companies, not building manufacturing, which is the key to building our country up. He doesn't have a plan, really. Now, I've got a lot of great ideas to help the country get jobs. And one of my ideas is the new CCC. The new CCC. The Civilian Conservation Corps of America. Now, this is not the Green New Deal, which Ocasio-Cortez is pitching. This is the one component of the New Deal that we can put into action right away. The Civilian Conservation Corps of America will be very much like AmeriCorps is today. And people who work in all these areas to help people right now, it'll be an expanded thing where we'll actually build parks, do a lot of the park ranger stuff that goes on right now at a higher expense, but will offer more jobs. And people who like to live in the outdoors will have a wonderful opportunity to start a tiny home out in the outdoors and work for the government. Isn't that a cool idea? There are a lot of people that would live near park ranger houses, and we'd build tiny house villages where our parks rangers setups are right now. And a lot of these people would easily find a life of real nature and working, cleaning up garbage, albeit at a lot of the parks, but It's still good work, and you can live totally in peace with nature. The new CCC will help build a new potential port or harbor in New Orleans. The new CC could veritably improve the Superfund cleanup sites that we have, which need a lot of labor to get cleaned up. Obviously, people need to work around that. Probably will end up taking, getting in hazmat suits, and that could be part of the detail, but it'll be optional. You won't have to do that. You can actually get a cush job working in the parks. But the idea is we need to start fixing our country's infrastructure, and this is a great way to create jobs. I don't know how many at first, but I'm thinking close to 50,000 jobs. Yeah. Thanks. You're supporting me and Trump? You've decided you're not really sure if you support Trump anymore? Okay. Thanks. But I just threw that idea out there a few months ago. I think it's a good idea. Yeah, FDR came up with the Civilian Conservation Corps, which really helped our country get it going. Yeah. That's the one thing we could do. But the Green New Deal, forget it. That's going to cost us $60 trillion. Ocasio's, she's going to lose in her district. In fact, the Democrats may actually change the lines on her district and get rid of her job completely. They don't like Ocasio. She rubbed some of the people the wrong way. The social justice Democrats are losing to the moderate Democrats who support Joe Biden. As you probably know, I still like Joe Biden on many different levels, not because I used to support him, but because he speaks so eloquently. You know, you can't help but like the way he phrases things.
You walk behind me in a debate. Come here, man. Rich Fitzgerald, the county executive, Allegheny County executive, for being here, and we don't always live up to that's who we are. Go to Joe 30330 and help me in this fight. We can speak out and be more straightforward. Senator Joe, I mean, but I mean, it's not about, I know you're supporting by saying booing, but look, here's the deal. Union workers, the UAW took incredible cuts in their future. You don't have here in Miami, in Florida. You don't have a, that is, if you keep an audience. All these breakthroughs we have with the whole, help people who have or in fact are and like to get Alzheimer's by Wall Street bankers, CEOs, and hedge fund managers. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
Poor kids are just as bright and as talented as white kids.
I can't talk.
What do I?
What do I do?
Well, I don't know. You know, Joe could use a little help from a younger guy. You know, Joe, if you're listening, I'll go for you as VP too. I'll be your VP. How's that? Blumberg could be my VP, but I'll be your VP. Okay, Biden. I was the only guy that actually chatted on Biden's website in 2007. I believe Biden sold out to big corporations. That's just my beef with the corporate thing. Corporate lobbying taking over America. I really got dissatisfied with the Democrats at that time. John Kerry, the millionaire Democrat who's invested in Iran and goes over there all the time to make deals with Iran. I don't like that. I didn't like the Iranian deal either. I thought we gave Iran too much money and latitude. I like the fact that we dropped the economic sanctions because I don't believe economic sanctions work. Unlike Trump, whose economic sanctions with Iran led to the trade war with China, ironically. But John Kerry really turned my stomach when I saw him trying to profit, and Nancy Pelosi too. And Hillary Clinton, I mean, what she made on the Haiti money deal, oh my goodness. She and her husband, Bill, made $5.4 billion in donations on Haiti that we know of. And the Haitian people got less than a few $1 million, hardly half of 1% of that money. It's unbelievable. I think so too. I think the Clinton body count needs to be investigated. But I don't hear Biden talking about all that. You know, and he's definitely a Zionist. So I realize now, after 11 years of doing this effort, that we don't need more Zionism in American government. We've got too much as it is. So that's why I part with Joe Biden. There we go. I was doing this in '08 when I first heard about Barack Obama, who seemed like a total liar to me.
Hi, good morning. As you can see, I'm still wearing the shirt I wore last night and yesterday at Blog TV. It's exhilarating to do Blog TV. We've been having an incredible time. This is in fact day 54. I thought yesterday was day 54, but we did a recount, and we determined that today is day 54 as we approach the election.
Now that was 2008, and I was gung-ho, and I did 500 hours of broadcasting, sent out press releases to 200 different media outlets, and not one single email. Nothing. Not a response. They completely shut us down. Then I knew we were being censored. But I knew my emails got through because I had a roommate from college who called me out of the blue and said, "Dave, I didn't know you were running for president." And I talked to this guy. I don't like the guy very much, but I talked to him. And he was a journalist. That's how he heard about me. So I know journalists heard about me, but they didn't want to actually do anything. Well, yeah, I know it is kind of odd that 11 years later I look younger now, but try to not think about that in a bad sense, you know. Think about, I hold on to my skin is holding pretty well except for my hair, you know. I still have to comb it. But the reality is, this is an ongoing effort that can't stop. We have to keep fighting for this third party. It's been going on for over 100 years, but there's no way we can give up now. Right around the Act of 1871, the government changed dimension. And at that time, third parties started. There was a third party in 1872, I believe, to deal with the Act of 1871. People just immediately realized we were being taken to the cleaners. Various agents of financial gain were within our country, embedded, doing everything they could to control our country. Remember, Andrew Jackson fought to stop the Federal Reserve, or a central bank, from being formed. And what did they do? They stuck it on a $20 bill, Andrew Jackson's face. The guy who tried to stop the federal banks. He didn't want a central bank, and I think that a central bank has hurt us big time. But whatever. We still need to create a bank to solve America's problems. That's why I came up with the infrastructure bank idea, which we even talked to, we had a conversation. Sarah had a call with John Kerry on the phone, where John Kerry was grabbing our idea and acting like it was a great idea, and in no way was it our idea. And Sarah confronted John Kerry on the phone and said, "Hey, how is this any different than the Federal Reserve?" And he went ballistic. He was like, he got very angry, wanted to get off the call. These people all want their fingers in the till. They want to make money off of any government infrastructure bank solution. Those companies I said earlier that make 6%, Morgan Stanley makes 6% on food stamps, JP Morgan makes 6% on Social Security, and Goldman Sachs makes 6% on treasury bonds that they sell. Basically, the World Bank prints them up and Goldman Sachs handles it and sells it to us. They make 6%. All that feeding off of the money in the government. These big corporations are nesting. If we had an infrastructure bank, we could offer loans as low as 2% to people like U.S. businesses, hiring U.S. citizens at a living wage of $15 an hour. So the infrastructure bank idea has been born. $2 loans. And this is much more advanced in many ways than the Democrats' idea, because what this does is it bypasses the huge barrier we have about the minimum wage laws. I want to see minimum wage laws go up to $15 an hour. The Republicans don't, and they never will. So I think getting the American people to get more money this way through an incentive plan. Getting more money from an incentive plan is the way, and we can do that if we have an infrastructure bank. So this bypasses the barrier that we've had for years with the Republicans and Democrats unwilling to agree on a minimum wage law. Tie the loan money to a definite $15 an hour wage for their employees, and say that if you take this amount of money, you have to hire this amount of employees. And that stipulates the money and requirement of these companies to do that. All of this could veritably fund the $500 a month plan too, which would be valuable for our country just to get more money in the retail sector. Some people will take that money and put it in the bank every month, and the banks will profit that way, indirectly. But that's how the banks should profit, not directly off the top, skimming off the top. They're trying to pull a fast one. Okay, take care. I was a mistake. Sleep well. Thanks for coming in here and offering your input. I'm worried about the false flag possibilities tomorrow at the Super Bowl, yeah. We'll try to watch the Super Bowl at a mall or at a casino or something.
Or
not. Yeah, yeah, really, maybe. I was invited down to LA. Do you want to fly down there in a helicopter? No.
Yes, no.
No, I don't want to be in a helicopter after.
Does not want to fly.
Not at all. Not after what happened to Kobe. Or did it? Oh my gosh. Coronavirus.
Oh my gosh.
This is a sad story. I won't put this on the screen, but we just got a link in here that people are throwing their cats and dogs out of the towers in China, claiming that the virus is affecting.
There were fake rumors that animals are causing a spread of the disease.
Yeah, fake rumor that animals.
Ironically, then the rotting animals, if they don't clean up the rotting animals, they could spread a different disease.
Yeah, I really don't want to look at a dead cat on the show.
Can we close out of that?
Yeah.
Can we close out of that too?
Okay, we can't play this guy either. Okay.
Can we close out of that too? No, just kidding.
We can't
see how long it will work.
Well, I think we should at least continue with the fear mongering, right, Scissor Fight? Don't you think it's in our best interest to continue fear mongering?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's put the screen on the. You can just see all the different people that are going to be fear mongering tonight about the coronavirus. Sarah can talk to you guys while I have a little dinner. Did you have some of that chicken?
Yeah, I did.
Good. Okay. Well, let's be clear. We got a good room tonight. Thanks for coming in, everyone. Appreciate it. Yeah, right. Big hug. Jeez. We get this all the time. People are so jealous of my beautiful hair.
Yay, chicken. Is that a dancing frog that's turning colors? It's kind of interesting about. I don't know what that is, but interesting by the nemesis. Peace be unto you. Hair, beautiful hair. It's Pepe the frog. Oh, I remember Pepe, kind of. Whatever. I'm not anything like that pirate salty dog. Bye. I don't know what you think I am. I'm just a normal human being. That's what I would say I am. No, I won't do that bangolitis. I'll just relax. I just don't know if I want to go out tomorrow. Because we did go out shopping today. I mean, I know it's a Super Bowl, and last year we went and saw it at I think David told you we went out and saw it at a casino, and that was pretty decent, actually. That was a decent place to watch it. Yeah, the second largest U.S. Navy base on the West Coast is Whidbey Island. The number one... Is it really the second largest? What about Everett? I thought Everett would be bigger. But okay. Anyway, we do have a huge Navy base here on Whidbey Island. Naval Air Base, Naval Air Station, Whidbey. And it grew recently. It grew so big that they had to change the way our school system was set up. I know that Navy has the largest air defenses. Air Force, ironically. Yeah, you're right. Well, ours is all... They call it a Navy base, but really, you might as well call it an Air Force because we have a ton of pilots here. My goodness. Well, I won't give any more than that, Bengalitis. How about that? I don't know anything else anyway. But yes, I'm sure I will be safe, even though I'm not Navy affiliated. But that's okay. The students, some of my students are, and their families are, so I'm good. I'm all set. Jacksonville, stealth mode. We hear a lot about Jacksonville here. That's just so amazing. Wow. Very slightly, Music Clef. I'm not too concerned about the virus because here's the thing I say about life is I am going to live my life to the best of my ability every day. Just be the best person I can every day and live the life I want every day and try to make a difference in other people's lives. And so if I live my life like that, then I have no regrets. And a virus, it's okay. The Pentagon is getting involved with it. Should we be worried? But at the same time, I will say this does make me wonder, should I go out in a public place to watch the Super Bowl if I don't have to? No. Will I still go to school? Absolutely. Your family was in the all in the military. Wow. You traveled everywhere, you know. Oh, but only stateside? You were never deployed overseas? Ah. That's interesting, Bengalitis. I did not know that. It does make sense because they're going off of the boats. Yeah, it's pretty intense when students have parents deployed, and sometimes they have both parents deployed. It's just pretty amazing. I like how we have such a strong military presence that they have big Veterans Day assemblies. That's always the first big music performance of the year. And that's cool, stealth mode. I'm glad your mom stayed at home. But the veterans, when they come to speak, usually they say, how many kids have parents that are in the military or family members that are veterans? And at least half the kids raise their hand. It's pretty amazing. And then they say, well, you're doing your job too. It's like, because they are so affected by their family being involved in the military. It's a really special population, and I really yeah, I really feel the resilience with that, with the children. And yeah, anyway. Yep, that's what we have stationed near us, the big growler. I'm all too familiar with the growler. Well, actually, I've never been in one, but yes, we do have those planes. Absolutely. The growler, the prowler, whatever's louder, whatever's the loudest, they'll put here on Whidbey Island. The growler, the prowler, yep. I think the growler is probably the newer one, and that's definitely louder than the prowler. I think that's right. I could be wrong, but whatever's the newer plane is louder. Yeah. That's the ones here. Where, we are, I don't know about any bases in, yeah, you say we're the biggest one, so there might be some small base in Alaska, but we're the largest base that's closest to Asia. Well, besides our Japanese base. And the contiguous United States, I can say that. All right, I'm just checking out the, well, I guess I should show you what I'm checking out. I'm just checking out Drudge Report. Super Bowl to feature women owners on each side for the first time. Wow. Wow. The FBI is investigating a border wall gun battle that left 2 wounded in California. Wow. Some monkeys escaped from a park. Every once in a while, victory for cake, not that often. Africa's worst locust plague in decades threatens millions. Wow. And it's an unprecedented threat to food security. A swarm of desert locusts. Wow. The infestation is worst in 70 years. There's a time-tested method of repelling locusts from crops in East Africa. It's bang on a metal bucket and whistle loudly. When swarms afflict 5 countries and swell to the size of Moscow, more drastic measures are needed. In Kenya, police facing the country's largest outbreak of locusts in 70 years have fired machine guns and tear gas into swarms of locusts in an effort to prevent them from consuming fields. Ethiopia is spraying pesticides from small planes to displace hovering throngs of locusts. Those swarms have forced passenger jets in the region to make emergency landings. Oh my goodness. In Eritrea and Djibouti, teams in the hundreds are chasing swarms with handheld pesticide pumps and truck-mounted sprayers. Here's a farmer holding a desert locust in Kenya. This is 120 miles east of Nairobi. Wow. The rising number of desert locusts presents an unprecedented threat to food security and livelihoods in the Horn of Africa, the UN Food and Agriculture Organization said on Wednesday. This has become a situation of international dimensions that threatens the food security of the entire sub-region. Wow. They can consume their weight in food each day. Oh, they sound like my worms. But my worms don't eat living things. That's the nice thing about my worms. It's about 70 degrees. Swarms of these locusts, potentially containing hundreds of millions of insects each, they can travel over 90 miles a day. Holy moly. Oops. A swarm the size of Manhattan can consume as much food in a day as the population of the New York tri-state area. Wow. Some swarms are even bigger than that. This is crazy. Okay, in the yellow, there's no worries about any threats. In the orange, there's potential threats to crops. And in the red, it's a significant threat to crops. Kenya, Ethiopia, Somalia, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, India. Wow. If this outbreak isn't controlled and conditions remain favorable for breeding, these locusts could reach 30 countries in Africa and Asia. This is a more serious emergency than they'd earlier anticipated. More locust swarms are entering northern Kenya daily, and at this rate they could spread into Uganda and South Sudan. Right now they're over in Ethiopia. Wow, they're worried about that. Entire crops of fields in minutes. Man. Extreme weather is behind the infestation. I was talking to David today about some extreme weather. I'll tell you in a minute. According to the UN, East Africa experienced abnormally heavy rains last year, flooding regions that are normally semi-arid. These conditions are favorable for locust breedings. They can grow substantially if not disrupted, and this is a challenge in cash-strapped countries contending with insurgencies and other security challenges. Swarms entered Kenya in late December from Somalia, where security challenges had left a large breeding area uncontrolled. When the swarms crossed the border, relief officials said residents in the Kenyan county of Wajir started shouting, whistling, and drumming to scare the insects away. The efforts forced the initial swarm to retreat, but only a day later, larger swarms returned, clouding the sky. Police units fired tear gas and bullets, but the locusts didn't disperse. Locusts have continued to spread. This week, the swarms moved to around 90 miles east of the capital, Nairobi, alarming the region's corn and fruit growers. Man. They could carry some kind of virus, maybe, but this is wild. Look at that. That's all locusts. The UN estimates that 23.6 million people in the region are already facing food shortages due to rains, insecurity, and now locust infestations. Some 8.4 people in Ethiopia alone may need food aid because of crop losses from the locusts. Aerial spraying is the only effective method to reduce locust numbers. According to the UN, they said they needed more than $70 million from donors to address the crisis. Wow. And spraying in grazing areas is very challenging because it can take days for herders to then move their livestock out of the way so they're not affected. Yeah, this is a scary thought, like a horror movie. Yeah, desert locusts. The nexus of the locust breeding is around the Red Sea plains in the borderlands between Sudan and Eritrea. Eritrea? I think I'm saying that wrong. If unchecked, the locust swarms could grow by 500 times. Wow, by June, when drier weather is expected to slow breeding. Kenyan officials have attempted to downplay the impact. They say, oh, only 5 swarms remain. And don't worry, the government's in control of this situation. These swarms move quickly, shifting location and shape. They make infestations challenging to control. Kenya is Sub-Saharan Africa's second largest exporter of fruits and vegetables. There was a drought in 2018 and flooding last year, so their main grain harvest is only about a third of what it normally is. Wow, so that's pushed up the costs, and wow. Yeah, Shizzle is right. My goodness. Oh. A major locust outbreak in northern Africa between 2003 and 2005 cost nearly $600 million to control. $90 million in food aid distributed to affected nations. They're saying they need to deal with the locust invasion now. Revelations? Seems like it. Locusts and viruses and oh, but the Venezuela capital is booming. Is this the end of a revolution? Brexit? When life throws you locusts, make locust pie? Well, maybe they are edible. I don't know. Yeah, 609 says eat the locust. Reptoid says make locust pie. I don't know. Maybe. I like looking at this one called The Good News File. If you'll let me go there. On MSN .com. Oh, an 8-year-old raised $4,015 to pay off his classmates' school lunch debt. A Nebraska teacher's shoes were stolen, so a student surprised him. David is eating dinner and I think he's running the dishwasher. His students surprised him with new ones. His basketball shoes were stolen from his classroom. That's cute. Oh, you think common flies now bite? I know black flies bite, but I don't know about common flies. Aw. Vermont. Only in Vermont. There's a mayor's race going on in Vermont. The police dog is challenging the incumbent, which is a goat. Okay. That is cute. I like that MSN Good News thing. You watch all the animals. You're lucky to live out in the woods, farmlands. if you're watching. That's pretty cool. I live in the suburbs, but okay, I was going to tell you about the weird weather when I was talking to you about locusts. I said I would say this. So today, David and I went for a little drive over to the mainland, and I was saying, David, look out. We had so much rain this last week that there was like standing water in our yard, and I'm like, yeah, that is weird. And a few years ago, well, actually that was definitely like more like 20 years ago, 19 years ago, one of our trees fell because of standing water. But David's like, man, I have never seen so much standing water, and I hope the trees are okay and don't just like fall over because of it. And anyway, then we were going, and I noticed like all the gullies were just full of water, and this lake near us, the sound was really high tide, and then the lake near us, there's this lake that we drive by, and this house is like waterfront property, but it always has had like the water probably like 10 or 20 feet to the water, and then a dock, and it's got its carport. The water was definitely in the carport, like on 3 sides of this house. So much water. And then as we were going over the bridge to the mainland, like, man, the waterways and the farmlands, there's just so much water. And it reminded me that I want to reach out. There's supposed to be an interactive map about global warming that you can like research where the water is going to rise, but I don't know the website of that. So I was going to try to do some research on that, like interactive climate change map, US. Card asked Kirk when they did that movie if they ever saw their show. He said no. Wow. Yeah. Oh, the praying mantis. Future cities. It'll be I want to look at like what will climate feel like in 50 years? Oh, is there something else? That's University of Maryland. That's not what I want. Water. Maybe this is what I want. Sea level rise viewer. Yeah, maybe this is it.
All right, thank you very much for all that time. That really helped. I started a dishwasher.
Okay.
Good. Did you do some orbital mapping there?
Well, I'm thinking of it.
Sea level rise, wide viewer, nice. Yeah, those are cool. I'd like to know, how many people will be underwater after this non-existent global climate change that Trump says doesn't exist happens. Yeah. Will Florida be underwater? I'm wondering, yeah.
Sea level rise, and potential coastal flooding.
Well, the good news, as the water rises, we are getting closer to the nuclear time clock at the top of the hour. That's the great news. So the water will cool down the irradiation from the aftermath of the nuclear holocaust. It'll be better for people to float away, 305 dead, 14,555 confirmed cases, but again, that number is growing every second. I'm not going to fall into the category of being a fearmonger and worry about the flu virus, okay? But I do walk around with 4 or 5 masks, just to be on the safe side. Top Democrats are fuming after Trump expands travel restrictions on 6 new countries. It's really about keeping people who are fleeing violent eruptions in Myanmar from coming into the country with coronavirus. I believe that we should probably ban people from China right now. Sorry to say. Let's just call it what it is. Nothing personal, not racist. Just coronavirus, not racist. I'm a person concerned about the spread of disease.
Well, actually, we'll be pretty good.
We're doing great. Yeah, we won't have
the
many.
The ones over here, all of this will all be underwater.
Oh yeah.
It's currently.
What about the crossover around the Sharps Corner turn? Dial in on that, because that's really kind of water's close.
It's not here per se. It's down here that's the problem. The bridge from here over.
Oh. I see that. Yeah.
This is.
Well, I wouldn't worry about it right now. We're good. Global climate change can take 200-300 years. I think the rapid acceleration of it is due to the chemicals that are being dumped in the sky. It's safe to say that all the stuff that we've been videotaping and Scissor Fight, you got more than enough proof in your area in Orange County. And around the country, we've seen chemicals dropped on our heads. That's had to have contributed to a lot of the changes that are rapid. Climate change probably in the neighborhood of 200 years would involve an ice age, which frankly a lot of that inversion layer offsets. Ironically, we have kind of a microwave oven going on here. Yeah, you're big on the Pope, right? John Paul II, that was your big thing. I think we got a guy who is just very Catholic in our show. He likes to hang out and talk about his support of the Pope. That's fine. I don't support religion here, but you can do whatever you want. Yeah, climate is like a rubber band. And you know, what really got me is it's true what the Republicans were saying about
The City Beach Park would be underwater.
Yeah, the whole area would be underwater, yeah. It's true what they were saying about a climate gate. The analysis that was done of the Democrat or the liberal scientists that analyzed the global climate change it only covered the years 1950 to present, when 1890s to 1950 there was a tremendous heat wave in the 1890s. Yeah, and they didn't include that in their climate assessments, which really is odd, considering we had thermometers back in the 1890s. Why not include that? That was all data that people reported. What's the point of reporting things if you don't include it? So in that sense, climate change is not happening the way the Democrats are describing it, but it is happening. We are dealing with climate modification, though. They're purposely modifying the climate. They're making it rapidly change to make us think that it's really a bad situation. We have to work really quick to solve this. Yeah, but 200 years is a good spectrum time, so why are we freaking out right now? That's primarily a centrist position, but we have to start innovating and we have to start filtering the air. Whereas the Democrats don't even talk about air filtration. They don't even bring it up. We want water filters as well, a robust water filtration on the planet. Much better than what we have today. You know, we haven't really modernized our water treatment systems except to add fluoride. So what I plan on doing is pulling fluoride from all municipal water supplies, which is being added for no reason. And if you want fluoride, get some toothpaste, right? Whatever. But take fluoride out of 67% of our water, which is currently in, and bring on water filter systems on a mass scale, where we actually are filtering carcinogenic things out of the water, because God knows how many tap water systems have somebody's Valium and, you know, a lot of your old vitamins that you threw down the drain. Yeah, they were saying it was getting colder. Well, it is getting colder. We are actually changing our alignment with the Milky Way and the sun. The Earth, the Milky Way, and the sun are in a different galactic alignment. You can look it up. And we are heading toward a cycle of an ice age, which will be at the beginning of the ice age within the next 200 years. So if you guys are around then, we'll talk about it then. But right now, what we're dealing with is kind of fake weather patterns and a lot of BS being pushed upon us. Yeah, they're trying to claim that some of the people that do the military operations of spraying, they think that they're somehow preventing global warming from happening. They got a lot of pilots believing that they're shielding the sun. They call it stratospheric aerosol injection, but they're not. It's not shielding anything. In fact, it's creating a bigger ozone layer that we have, a missing ozone layer is what it's doing. The aerosol carbons are pushing the ozone out, making holes in the atmosphere. But that's just what they decided to do without consulting us. You've had snow every day, your coworkers out there in the Midwest, 2 to 5 feet high. Are you serious? And now you have only 3 inches of snow? Boy, DT, you've really been hit with the snow bug out there in Louisiana. I did not know. Wow, that's really weird. That's the polar vortex. I know. And I think a lot of people freak out about everything. So you have to take that into consideration. Hit it with a grain of salt every time you hear somebody say, oh, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. The coronavirus is spreading. Oh my gosh. You know, we went out to a big public area today and there was nobody wearing a mask. But we're not down in LA where half the market was wearing a mask when Scissor Fight was going shopping the other day. So people freak out in different ways. Thank you for liking my neighborhood. Yeah, I have a very nice neighborhood. What are you, Googling me? That's funny. The people think that the new house down the street that they slammed a roof on, they think that's a Mossad headquarters.
Oh, okay.
I don't, the mafia vehicles that rolled around with their dark windows, that looked a little suspicious. I will admit that.
Yeah.
They're rolling around. It's like they're mafia vehicles in Lexuses living at that house. So you got to wonder, it might be Mossad. I don't know. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy. I've got the music playing for you in there, and I've got the wash running in the kitchen. Thank you so much. Thanks, Sarah. Awesome. Well, Pence is laying low because they are getting Pence ready for the taking over the role of the presidency. I believe that Donald Trump will be resigning fairly soon, or the impeachment will go forward, because I think more than enough evidence will come forth that Donald Trump is committing felony after felony. I'd name all the felonies Donald Trump is doing. One in particular is violating the emoluments clause, the Class C felony of election fraud when he didn't report that he was paying off Stormy Daniels to any election committee. 153 News, from the work of Scissor Fight here, we have poisoning of our skies. This is a nice long video. Cool. Powerful music, man. Wow, that's intense. I would, I'm going to play more of that later tonight as we enter the hard rock phase of our evening. We're going to kick our evening off at 10 o'clock with a little Billie Eilish, I'm a Bad Guy, and go right into this. Okay? Thank you. I will play it later. But that's pretty good music. Yeah. I hope they don't monetize it, but you know how these people are. They monetize everything now. You know that little musical thing you play in between when you do the internet searches and find the dates and everything? They monetize that every time. Yeah, so what I do is I just ask them to, mute the volume there. Yeah. But yeah, every time that little, it's like a children's rhyme or something. But they monetize that and send me notices like, oh, thanks. Okay, so the virus has spread to about 22 people in the U.S. Nothing to freak out about. But that could mean 200 tomorrow and 2,000 the next day, and 20,000 a week from now. So then we could start freaking out. Well, I have to stop a video that's been started. Because, frankly, 7 minutes of just nonstop hard rock is not what I'm looking for right now. But later, yeah. All right, let's see if there's anything new here. More on the coronavirus. First death outside China reported in the Philippines. It's a tough virus. It takes out your entire system, and if you're compromised, it hits you faster. China slams Trump's coronavirus travel limits, not a gesture of goodwill. Well, this is the very least I would have done. I would have done more. Oh, I believe it. It's free cartoon music you got from YouTube. You wouldn't believe it. I get people sending me monetization issues on that. For real. it doesn't even matter. I mean, this whole thing is insane. The way they falsely penalize people and don't even communicate.
Government in response to the coronavirus outbreak in China. The Trump administration has declared a public health emergency. That means foreign nationals who may pose a, quote, contamination danger will be kept out. Correspondent Jonathan Seri has the latest tonight from Atlanta.
I have today declared that the coronavirus presents a public health emergency in the United States.
In a late afternoon White House briefing, the Trump administration announced it will temporarily deny U.S. entry to foreign nationals who pose a risk of transmitting a deadly new coronavirus. The temporary restrictions go into effect this Sunday.
Foreign nationals, other than immediate family of U.S. citizens and permanent residents who have traveled in China within the last 14 days, will be denied entry into the United States for this time.
Additionally, U.S. citizens returning to the United States from China's Hubei province, the epicenter of the outbreak, will be subjected to a mandatory quarantine of up to 14 days, the virus's incubation period. Today, federal health authorities issued quarantine orders for all 195 U.S. citizens who returned from Wuhan, China, aboard this flight landing at March Air Reserve Base on Wednesday.
Good.
This is the first time in over 50 years that CDC has issued a quarantine order. While we understand this action may seem drastic, our goal today, tomorrow, and always continues to be the safety of the American public.
Well, I'd like to believe
that. The deadly coronavirus outbreak, which has claimed more than 200 lives in China, has prompted the State Department to issue its highest level 4 advisory: do not travel to China. Although coronavirus is making headlines, federal health officials believe the threat to the general American public remains low. To put it in perspective, this year's flu season has already made 19 million people sick in this country and claimed 10,000 lives.
Wow.
We'll follow this. Jonathan, thank you.
Thank you. And Brett, thank you. And thank you for being thankful for my thanking you. Because when we have thanks, we thank each other together. Thankfully.
The final push.
Hourly update. Okay. Yeah, I'm just glad that we've got the wherewithal now of holding people for 14 days, because I was hearing them say, and they'll be released in 2 days. And I ran a huge campaign about 2 days ago. And I understand T. Tommy called up the CDC and made a big difference. So thank you, T. Tommy. Yeah, I think we may have affected that, because we need to get those people. Everybody coming into the U.S. from China should spend 14 days in quarantine right now. I only have 400. No, Sarah has 25 more, and I've used about 80 or 75.
You know, on December 18th, the House of Representatives upheld its constitutional duty and voted articles of impeachment against the President of the United States, Donald Trump. He said in the course of the debate that he did not uphold his oath of office, protect, preserve, and defend the Constitution of the United States. The President takes a special oath, a little different from the congressional oath. In fact, he takes an oath that was taken by President George Washington, the patriarch of our country. In front of his picture, we stand here. So sad, so tragic for our country that the actions taken by the President to undermine our national security, to violate his oath of office, and to jeopardize the security of our elections, the integrity of our elections, has taken us to this place. So today, we will make history. When the managers walk down the hall, we will cross a threshold in history, delivering articles of impeachment against the President of the United States for abuse of power.
That was a pretty important step in the right direction. The House made a very noble attempt to stop the corruption that Republicans seem to cling to. The problem with the Republicans is they love power. They cling to power even though they're not capable of managing it properly. They brag a lot. We remember George W. bragging about, good job, Brownie, as he flew over the devastation of the the site down in New Orleans, the Superdome. It was just terrible. 5 days people were staying in their own urine and defecant, and they couldn't get food and water to those people in a timely manner. And George W. was bragging about what a good job Brownie had done, the guy at FEMA, and it was a photo op for him. It was just horrible. The whole thing backfired. So the Republicans just don't really want to do anything. They just want to brag about it. The Democrats, on the other hand, don't do anything and say they really should do something. Yeah, and they're really the party of want to do this, want to do that, and then tax and spend, instead of actually fixing the problem. Like in Nancy Pelosi's case, in her district, she has people living in their own feces, sleeping in their own fecal matter, bags of feces everywhere. She spends $750,000 out of their budget to cover the cost in that sector. A state legislator has to handle it. She gets the funding at the federal level, obviously, but they've got to clean crap up every day. There's even an app in San Francisco that will take a picture of the crap and geolocate it and send the information to the city manager, who then has to go out and clean up the crap. So she can't even put a bathroom in. This woman is so incompetent. But the Democrats chose her, and she isn't exactly the most galvanizing player. She's better than most, though, I will give her that. But for her age, too, she does very well. But she's not the galvanizing character, the William Jennings Bryan that we really need to get this impeachment full force. Adam Schiff comes off, like the Republicans say, a little shifty. They don't trust him. He seems to have those eyes that are darting around and people don't believe him. And that's a big problem, because the message that he delivered was solid. I would never give you guys luxury taxes or death taxes or retirement. I don't want to take anything from you. I want to essentially do what Bernie wanted to do without hitting the rich as hard. I want a 10% flat tax. That's what we're shooting for. Yeah, it's a 10% flat tax on income that anybody makes above $50,000. So Nancy Pelosi, she's worth about $140 million, and she came to the office with money from her dad, who was also a politician for years, and many people were investigating him for corruption. Nancy Pelosi has somehow padded her pocket to the tune of $120 million or $140 million. Her net worth is skyrocketed. So that's suspicious. So why they chose her and why she's the person, it reeks of corruption. And a lot of Republicans say, yeah, you Democrats are full of corruption. Look at Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. And, oh yeah, that's the problem. The Democrats aren't coming to this with a clean slate. They're full of corruption too. And that's why they're not mentioning anything about Mitch McConnell working for Russia, getting money from a Russian oligarch to win elections. If they told people that, they would be exposed in the money they get from Russian oligarchs and Ukrainian oligarchs. The Democrats have been involved in this as well. So there's the Billie Eilish tune we're going to do tonight. And then, of course, Lindsey Graham talking to the guy that gives the money to him, Len Blavatnik and Alan Dershowitz standing there. This is Len Blavatnik, a Russian oligarch who is a United States and UK citizen. He's the crossover person who does the work. These are the people that meet at secret gatherings at Shabbat Leibovich and hang out and work side deals with a lot of the big power money in America, AIPAC, American Israeli Political Affairs Committee. Oh yeah, we went to the moon, right? Yeah, except we didn't go back for 50 years. We've got another moon hoax video for you tonight. Cool,
I'm
thanks.
Jonathan Brown. This motion picture was produced to enable you to experience more personally and vividly the most dramatic events of the Apollo 11 story.
Cool. It'd be nice to see this. Yeah, my mother worked on the Apollo and the Gemini and the Mercury programs, Saturn programs. She carried me full term. So when I was gestating, I was listening to nuclear scientists walk around her talking about how they were going to get this amazing small capsule into the atmosphere and beyond. And the Saturn rockets have still, to this day, never been beaten in terms of size and performance. So as much as I love the space program and grew up with it, I was faced with a big question as to whether I believe fully that we went to the moon. And I don't. Not after not going back for 50 years and seeing a wonderful opportunity to get the space shuttle out there to the farthest reaches. I was disappointed when the space shuttle came back with the tiles that were burning off. And I couldn't understand why they just didn't use the Apollo spacecraft fuselage. Because that never burned off, right? It went right all the way to the moon and came back. And apparently the Van Allen belts didn't burn it off. Well, that's when I began deducing that maybe we didn't go to the moon, and maybe they didn't have things that could withstand the terrible temperatures, radiation belts in the Van Allen belts surrounding our Earth. That's when I began wondering, and especially now that we haven't been back for 50 years, we're beginning to think that Nixon created the concept, sold it to us, and now we're supposed to believe it. Oh yeah, they caused heat on reentry, but you have to ask yourself, why didn't they put the same type of fuselage that they had on the Apollo, why did they put that on the space shuttle? Why did they keep having to complain about the tiles burning off? That's the part that really kind of got me. Yeah. Plus, I asked some big questions like, when they went to the moon, how did they bring the fuel necessary to get all the way back with them when they didn't have it on board? There were no fuel rockets on board the Apollo return vessel. And some people say, well, they boomeranged. Well, no, they allegedly hovered over the moon and landed, and then reunited with the main Apollo return spacecraft, the reentry vehicle. And they didn't have any fuel to go back with. How did they get back? From a dead stop hovering over that location on the moon. And then you look at the oblique nature of the cone of the return vessel that came back from the moon. It's not a pointed thing. You don't pierce your way through the Van Allen belts. It's quite oblique and rounded. It's like a large cone or yeah. Well, I don't know. You see, that's the thing. The Soviets didn't really go back either. Why didn't the Soviets pursue landing on the moon? Why didn't the Russia follow with a landing on the moon? And why is it all the videotape we see of that now looks fake? Even the Chinese landing that happened, 5 years ago? Yeah. There's a long history of the American people and people around the world being lied to. That's also in play here. Don't kid yourself. Liars have retained power for centuries, and they've continued to lie to the people. Not everything has been revealed. There are probably things in this world that most of you would be shocked to find out. Like the fact that they're poisoning the air that we breathe, slowly shortening our lifespan and gradually killing us off. Sure, some of you feel active and you're young. You've got hormones rolling in your body. You can move. But maybe in a few years you'll be so bored and tired that you'll just want to get on that train to nowhere. That's a Dow Chemical commercial. They wanted to humanize Dow. They wanted to make people know that Dow Chemical really cared about people. Yeah. What is that? It's weird. Okay. So you are watching America's Third Party, ATP for short, and we are the preeminent third-party effort ongoing every day in America. The only day I take off are Sundays, so tomorrow I will be taking a day of rest where I will spend my time with the Lord. Yes, I spend time outside sojourning with nature. Your grandmother, who would be 100 years old now, didn't believe we went to the moon? Wow, you had a pretty cool grandmother, dead baby fetus. Strange me just saying that, dead baby fetus. But interesting username. Yeah, your grandmother really kind of rocked out. You know, my mother asked me some big questions about chemicals in the air. She asked me, David, do you think there's chemistry or the chemicals, chemtrails exist? Because she had heard Art Bell on the phone talking about chemtrails, and she essentially she said, you know, what do you think of these chemtrails? And then she said contrails. I said, well, you know, it's just probably just pollution from the jet fuel, you know. And I always believed that for about 15 years, until I would say about 2008. I started listening to all these alternative, when we started the show here, I started listening to all kinds of alternative views, where we found out about a new world order. People asked me about the Illuminati, and I didn't know anything at the time. And I didn't realize it was created by a man who created the Illuminati. He was a man named Andrew. Yeah, hold it. Yeah. Adam Weishaupt. And Adam Weishaupt was the creator of the Illuminati, who lived from 1748 to 1830. So he had about an 82-year-old life. And he actually created a secret order of the Illuminati. A German philosopher, law professor, and founder of the Order of the Illuminati, a secret society. And then Illuminati started gaining momentum when people like Bill Cooper in the 70s and 80s tuned in on this and then talked about it in the 90s. And he used to tour the country, William Cooper. He wrote a book called Behold the Pale Horse. We have a PDF of that. Wow. No kidding. I didn't realize that. Hang on. Internet Archive. Wow. Here it is. And if you want to read this amazing conspiracy theory book, there's an Internet Archive of it. Look at that. Milton William Cooper, and he was a government agent that started revealing what was going on in the country. Look at that. Wow, that's a Trevor trough. Okay. Well, here's the archive. If you guys want to read Behold the Pale Horse, this is one hell of a book. Yeah, check that out. Yeah, so my mother was telling me about that, and I didn't believe it at first. And then I began realizing, no, there's a lot to it, and there's a lot more than we know. Because this New World Order has been in place for a long time. It started way back, way before... It actually started, the New World Order, and as it's evolved into the Order of the Zionists, the Masons, the Vatican, it's evolved into a triumvirate of forces. And their ultimate goal is global world domination. And they believe that the only way we'll survive to have a sustainable planet is if we reduce the population. That's their theory. It's never really been verified or proven that we have to reduce the population to solve problems. In fact, common sense tells you that if we distribute things better and push past the capitalist model and maybe even push past all of the other models of the economy and just get food, water, and housing to people directly. Make that the priority, and then healthcare and others. And if we just do that, we'll be able to solve the world's problems and maybe even accommodate 10 billion people, not 7.6 like we have today. But no, they want to get the population down to 500 million. So the theory is that they are creating a pandemic situation. That the very people that claim to be fixing the problem by creating vaccines are actually engineering protein synthesizing deadly viruses that could take out up to 65 million people. And therein we enter the world of Bill Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates, and their Event 201. Now they are the patent holders of a coronavirus very much like the one we are now seeing. And their involvement with Wuhan and their government there and this bioweapons testing facility needs to be investigated before we can find any solid links. But we do know that they worked with Johns Hopkins as well as World Economic Forum and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They worked collaterally to determine that in an 18-month period, there'll be 65 million deaths. That's either a projection or a plan, modus operandi. Very similar to the possibility of, very similar to the possibility of genocide being delivered on the human race. Read it, read it and behold. I would go in and read it right now for you, but there's so many interesting things about Bill Cooper that behold a pale horse only touches on. I'd rather let you listen to Bill Cooper directly. He predicted the 9/11 attacks, which to me is a trigger for potential wars like Iraq and Afghanistan. They needed some reason. Whoever's behind the scenario needed some reason to cause terrible anger and disturbing resentment toward the whole Muslim world. So then it automatically gave license to the idea that they could start a war. Iraq, George W. started it for no reason whatsoever. We've had a lot of video of the attack on the Pentagon. There is a video that was leaked a long time ago that I'd play for you right now, but if I played it, my YouTube account would be shut down. It shows a missile going at the Pentagon. Suffice to say, it does exist. Donald Rumsfeld claimed that there were $2.3 trillion missing from the Pentagon 1 day before the 9/11 attack.
Pentagon, the day before 9/11, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld declared war, not on foreign terrorists.
The adversary is closer to home. It's the Pentagon bureaucracy.
He said money wasted by the military poses a serious threat.
In fact, it could be said that it's a matter of life and death.
Rumsfeld promised change, but the next day, the world changed. And in the rush to fund the war on terrorism, the war on waste seems to have been forgotten.
My 03 budget calls for more than $48 billion in new defense spending.
More money for the Pentagon when its own auditors admit the military cannot account for 25% of what it already spends.
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
$2.3 trillion with a T. That's $8,000 for every man, woman, and child in America.
Yep, so they lost that money. They lost that money. It's gone. So, what can I say? We never heard about it after that. That was it. That was the end of the discussion. Okay. Yeah, Neil Armstrong never ever confirmed his trip to the moon. Yeah. A lot of things we just didn't know behind the scenes. When we find this out, maybe we didn't go to the moon. Maybe our government is hiding a huge loss of money from 9/11, and they don't want anyone to know about it, so they picked it on 17, 18 Saudi Arabians that they claim caused this disaster that killed 3,000 people, or thereabouts. And, yeah, and then the reality that they don't want us to know that it was the trigger for the world wars that we're involved in Iraq and Afghanistan. You're sitting on a mountain of corruption just saying that right there. And then you wonder why they're still holding back on the JFK information, because the very people that killed JFK are in power right now. They don't want anyone to know that Lee Harvey Oswald worked for the CIA for 5 years prior to the attack on the president. They don't want anyone to know that. They didn't want to release that to the Warren Commission report. That was kept away from everybody. So they've been covering up a huge mountain of bull crap, and all under the aegis of a plan of action that they call a New World Order. And their New World Order involves getting rid of 90 to 95% of the population. Now that, to me, is not sustainable, because that means all of us are going to get hurt really bad. Whether it's dying from the flu or something else, maybe even zapping us with electricity, God knows what. But many people are concerned about the 5G network for that very reason. Yeah, so Bill Cooper has a lot of insight into a lot of that, and he passed away. They say he may have been killed for knowing all of this. But the secret societies have been working through organizations like the Masonic groups. They've installed presidents before, like George W. Bush. He worked for Skull and Bones. It was a secret society that was developed at Yale. He and John Kerry both worked at Skull and Bones. They were part of the, it's like a fraternity. It's at chapter 322 of the Masonic groups. Many people are kind of shocked that all this stuff is going on behind the scenes, and it does fall into the category of conspiracy theory. But it's not something that we can ignore, because it's valid. Everywhere you turn, you see earmarks of this secret Venetian royalty working through organizations like the Bilderberg Group. Yeah, I'm sure we sent a 57 Chevy to the moon, right? Sure. Yeah, I saw the biggest airline. I played it for you earlier. The Airlander 10. The ass in the air, right? We talked about it. Thank you. Been there, done that. We've been lied to a lot. There's been a lot of lies out there. Like, remember they had a picture recently of a black hole? Well, it turns out it's not a black hole at all. It's actually somebody making a reversed peace sign or an OK sign. Yeah, there's been a lot of fakery going on. I'm sure there's a black hole somewhere. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we know that black holes exist, but that's not a picture of a black hole. Here is a picture, though, of a directed energy weapon that was developed by Lockheed Martin. The focused energy weapon can light fires near 3,000 degrees and melt steel, as seen in California. Site can't be reached. I'm so sorry. You have been unable to get your message through. The world's largest aircraft will have glass doors or luxurious bedrooms and glass floors. That's cool. Hey, I'm all for travel, blimp travel. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm the originator of the blimp plane, so I welcome all blimps and blimp travel. Yeah, I can't wait to take my first maiden voyage in a blimp. I've yet to travel in my blimp. Me and my blimp. There's not a large enough capacity in that thing, though. I mean, look at that. That's anything like my amazing blimp plane. The glass will crack, I know. But yeah, we've got a lot of concern that their plan to depopulate also includes a plan of scorched earth, burning the earth with directed energy weapons, like the one I just showed you. That's a serious concern of mine, and it's just not sustainable. You know, having people burn like crispy critters, like the poor people in Paradise. Oh, honey, I'm so glad we moved to Paradise. I know, and we've got our gun collection, our antique gun collection in the safe over there. Oh, what's that smell, honey? Look at that. And then all of a sudden a beam of energy goes through their living room and carbonized, and their entire safe with all the guns in it melted to the ground. That's what living in Paradise was like for those poor people. Okay? Are you getting my drift? These could be happening. We don't know that. But it is very suspicious those fires burned at 3,000 degrees. No forest fire in the world ever burned at 3,000 degrees. Yeah, we know the Bilderberg Group controls the world. That's the point. That's the New World Order. Thank you. But guess what? They're not solving this problem. It's a mountain of garbage. Welcome to the beautiful Garbage Heaps International, where we have tons and tons of garbage. Isn't it amazing? Mountains and mountains of garbage going nowhere. So instead of dealing with the problem, Trump is completely ignoring the problem. And the people that powered up Trump and own him, the New World Order, if you will, they really don't want to deal with this garbage problem right now either. They'd rather just get rid of us, because they blame us for the garbage that they profited from selling us stuff. They're not willing to take the responsibility of cleaning up the earth that they crapped on. He's not my president as long as he cheated in the election. And if you Republicans think you can continue cheating, you're committing an act of treason against my nation, America. The United States of America is the country I belong to, not the United States corporation that you seem to serve. Yeah, we need to bankrupt the United States corporation and bring out of bankruptcy the United States of America. Right now, our United States corporation owes $23 trillion, $23.2764732 trillion. And in that process, we haven't really dealt with a debt load. So instead of coming up with new ideas to deal with that, like bringing back United States of America out of bankruptcy, it's been in bankruptcy since March 9th of 1933. Then we'll be acknowledging that Trump could be our president, but he was never elected to the United States of America. He was elected to the United States corporation, and that was a rigged election. You know damn well it was. So what the hell are you, you Republicans? You're traitors, I know that, but what kind of traitors are you? You want to pad your pocket with the office of controlling our election with Russia's help when you're simply being used and harvested like a resource by Russia? I have no respect for you retardicans. How could I? Hey, El Chapo. Oh, yeah. He's very nice. Yeah, there he is. This is the... Oh, that's not El Chapo. This is the guy that poses El Chapo. Believe me, El Chapo wouldn't be weeping like a baby. Yeah, this guy weeps like a baby. They say he just sits there and cries in his cell. That's not El Chapo. El Chapo got an imposter to replace him. This is the guy doing time for El Chapo. Yeah, you don't know anything, man. You don't know nothing, man. How'd you like that, huh? My audience is regular viewers of retardicans. I mean, what can I say? I'm so glad you guys chose to tune in, but I can't seem to get through to any of you. I'm frustrated. That's right. These Republicans are small-minded cowards who want to hide under the cheating of an election. You'll lose every election from here on out, you retardicans. What you're doing to this country is going to deny our nation all the freedoms that we once thought were holding dear to us. We're going to be losing. You've allowed Donald Trump to be bought off by the New World Order. You've allowed him to be controlled by rich Zionist elitists. Many of them are oligarchs, Russian oligarchs, in front of them $1 billion like Deutsche Bank and the guy that underwrote that note. They've got sex on him, sex dirt on him. And they've got a network they control him through called the Republican Party. A group of old-minded people who simply want to retain their view of the world without ever opening up their mind to any other view. We've got the recalcitrant nature of the Republicans, intractable, unable to decide what to do, and certainly no creativity. All the baggage the Republicans are known for, which would include tax breaks for the rich, which, frankly, Trump has cost us $5.5 trillion. While you keep going, Trump's doing a great job for the economy. Our country's $5.5 trillion poorer because of Donald Trump. Hell, Jeff Bezos didn't pay any taxes. I wouldn't doubt he paid more to the Saudi Arabian government just to keep that sex tape of his penis from getting out. He didn't pay any taxes. Jeff Bezos, $13 billion income, paid no taxes, courtesy of Donald Trump. Yeah. So he gave too many tax breaks to the rich, and it's costing us. He screwed us royally. Now, when the stock market opens up on Monday, I'm not predicting anything. All I can tell you is the Dow Jones, when it did drop 603 points on Friday, it was a tragic day. It showed that there's lack of confidence in the market. Whether you want to blame it on the coronavirus or on Donald Trump and the Republicans trying to rig the election and prevent witnesses from testifying. Either way, it's a bad sign for America. And either way, it points to Donald Trump is going to have to face the music. The Democrats are going to come up with another solution. We're talking more impeachment articles. Don't put it past them. It's very likely that this is not even important what El Chapo says, because this isn't even El Chapo. It's a fake guy. Well, at this point, we've got a lot of Democrats in the room who support the idea of witnesses. I think the majority of us want witnesses. We want to get the truth out. We want Giuliani to speak out, even if it's to put his foot in his mouth. We want Mick Mulvaney to reiterate that it was a quid pro quo. And we want him to say that he does that all the time. And then we can talk about how this quid pro quo behavior of Donald Trump has been going on all the time. And then we can get to the why the Republicans think that quid pro quo is not an impeachable offense. No harm done. Tell that to the Ukrainian families that lost their fathers in a war against Russia. As we watch Donald Trump systematically spin out helping Russia in every way. No Russian sanctions were imposed in 2 years. He's disrespected NATO, our ally against Russia. He's hurt Ukraine, 84 days without aid, causing tremendous harm, like I said, dead Ukrainian soldiers. He turned his back on Maduro, and now Russia has a place to stick hypersonic weapons. And he handed Syria and the keys to the kingdom over to Russia, along with an airfield we created. I mean, I would think this would piss off a lot of the Republican senators out there, because he's reversing their foreign policy of the past 20 years. And he's starting a war with Iran by attacking Soleimani, and then, which helps Russia, because Russia can sell Iran more weapons like the S-400. And ironically, it's hurt us again because Iraq now is turning to Russia for S-300s. And then he's raised the price of oil simply by creating friction with Iran, which incidentally led to the Chinese trade war, because he has imposed economic sanctions on Iran, which he's holding against a very powerful person in the Huawei telecommunications company in China. Meng, she's being held against she's being held in trial out on $40 million in bail, and China's not very happy with that. But most of all, Donald Trump has been systematically hiding everything about his history. All the money laundering he did with the Paul Manafort and the Russian oligarchs, that would be apparent in the IRS tax returns. And then no tapes of Putin whatsoever, even though he's been under investigation for the past 3 years. He never recorded one phone call. Okay, I'll read the article later, okay, on El Chapo. Thank you. He's outraged that his trial included witnesses. Whatever, I don't care. Like I said, that's not El Chapo. That's the imposter. I am now in overtime. So having dealt with the Russian involvement, this isn't going to go away, folks. This is going to get worse. And when the price of oil impacts you at the gas pump, that's when it's going to affect you. And you'll start realizing, oh, Donald Trump kind of screwed up our country. So if you really believe that in the next 4 days we can't convince 2 or 3 senators to flip their vote and at least get a secret ballot, that's all they need. When they decide without witnesses on this issue, they could decide it on a secret ballot, and at any time in the next 4 days, they could put together a plan to have a secret ballot. And that could be ruled on the minute they set foot in chamber on Wednesday. But that's the only way we'll see any real, true, honest voting from these Republicans. Otherwise, we're going to have to assume that they're kissing Donald Trump's ass and they don't want to lose their next election. But guess what? They will. Because every state where the Republican senators have dominated, the people will say, why didn't you take witnesses? How come you people are so corrupt? And in every state, the Republicans will lose to the Democrats, and the Democrats will win the Senate, and they'll hold the House, and Donald Trump will be sitting there holding his bag, even if he won 2020. They'll get him out within days. He'll be impeached within the inauguration day. He will be. Within a few days of the inauguration, Donald Trump will be impeached, and we'll get whoever is his VP. That'll be the future of this country, unless Trump resigns sooner and Pence becomes our president. And now we know that Donald Trump is under a lot of stress. We know that a man of his age isn't 100% healthy, like a horse. This is, as you can see, a pretty sickly horse right here. And it's not doing too well. Well, they've propped him up, holding him together with his fake cholesterol levels for so long. I don't know how long a man in his late 70s or early 70s can hold up under the pressure. Jimmy Carter said that he could never have run for president when he was in his 70s. He just said that recently. So yeah, I mean, I wish him good health. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, this is a heavy load he's carrying at his age. And he doesn't look like he's the kind of guy who does jogs every morning. All right, so we're going to sign off for now, but thank you for coming in. I'll be into the show till 1 o'clock chatting with you, as I do. Nothing really to worry about with the virus yet, but, you know, I'm not trying to freak anybody out, but it's best to stay, you know, prepared. Get bottles of water. Thank you. Get bottles of water into your back of your car or something. Go to the market, and for $3.99 Walmart has bottles of water. And pick up some granola bars. They're really good, and they stick to your belly when you're in time of, you know, if you're systematically self-quarantining yourself in your house, this will keep you together for a while. Because you may not be able to go to the market if this gets too intense. Be prepared for up to 30 days of quarantine, self-quarantine. Now, what happened was a man-made virus. We think somewhere it came out of a bioweapons lab that was unfortunately in the middle of a large metropolitan area, if indeed that's what's happening. But it's never bad to be too safe than sorry. And I would recommend getting some food and some medical supplies for your family, and even some masks. I was telling Meta-Nemesis that Sherwin-Williams sells masks, paint stores sell masks. Look around. There's bound to be masks in your area. And at the very least, hospitals have masks, even in their front room. When you walk into most hospitals, they give you masks. So think about that. I'm not urging you to go to the hospital, though. That's not exactly a safe place. In fact, most people get sick at a hospital. You've got canned goods and plenty of frozen goods? Good. I hope you have a generator for your frozen goods, because you'll need one. Masks are sold out in the U.S. I wouldn't doubt that, yeah. That's why I bought 500 of them about 10 years ago. And Ann hasn't seen one person wearing a mask. Well, that's cool. And I didn't see anybody today at a big market that I went to. I don't think people are that worried right now. A lot of this is just kind of like the SARS virus and the Zika virus and the swine flu virus and the H1N1 virus and the bird flu virus. It's just one of those virus attacks things that come and go. But Trump didn't really take the right precautions, in my opinion. And now we are a little bit more vulnerable. $123 million in fake Super Bowl merchandise seized by the DHS and ICE ahead of the big game. Whoa. Somebody was coming out there with fake Super Bowl stuff to profit. Wow, they got that, nabbed that in time. There's a job well done, guys. Good job. DHS, ICE, CBP, Customs and Border Protection. Believe it or not, the system does work. It works pretty well, actually. Just about a year ago, the Navy, the Mexican Navy, intercepted 47,000 pounds of fentanyl. That's a lot of fentanyl. Enough to poison half the world. A veritable bioweapon. And I thank the Mexican Navy for doing that. They intercepted it from Shanghai, coming out of China. Again, another reason to be concerned about trade with China. It looks more and more like China's lost control in some ways of their country, and they seem to be pretending like everything's fine. One of the biggest problems with the panda economy in China is their overwhelming need to save face at all times. It prevents their president from making abrupt decisions that would make other people look at him like maybe you are not quite the leader you should be. Everything in China is about saving face. Consequently, they can sometimes not react in time. And that may be the case with this recent virus. They were warned 2 years ago not to have a bioweapons lab in Wuhan. And now we're here dealing with the bioweapon problem. Okay, I got to break out of here. We got Billie Eilish to start out with. Bad Guy after the show. Haven't seen this in a while. This video I haven't seen at all. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. Tonight will be the end of the Sustainable Saturday show, where we are trying to come up with a way to protect the Earth from not only the dangers of chemtrails, but the electromagnetic radiation that the government seems to be endorsing. We don't want this endless attack on our bodies. We don't need it. We need more accountability from our leaders, and we don't get it. That's why we need a third party. So this is Mr. Right signing off. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Cause you make me melt away. You're my Mr. Right, my Mr. Right, too good to be true. You spin my world around, cause you're the peace I find. If you sweep me off my feet, my heart stops to beat.